Hello and welcome back to your weekly astrological update. I am Cedric from astrologykingdom.com. So you're probably feeling a little more energized, a little more like you can get a lot done. Maybe you've been getting a lot of work done lately. Maybe there's just been busy times very recently. Whether that be within your work life, your personal life, whatever projects you have going on, there's just been a lot happening in life in general. But it's okay because there's just been so much more energy to draw on. There's just a much more animated, just feel-good kind of energy going on that's keeping people kind of motivated. It helps you to keep a momentum, helps you keep moving and getting things done. So we have the sun here in Taurus, in the first decan here of Taurus, the very beginning of the sign of Taurus. And the key word here, at least in the book that I've got here, which actually I don't have it with me right now, but it basically says that the key word here for this decan is acquisition. And now with Taurus, that often has to do with money, especially if we're going to combine the energy of Taurus with the sun, gold and green, Venus, the sun. We put those things together, we get finances, money, but not just like large sums of money that just get dumped on us out of nowhere, but like long-term success, that kind of thing. And it's something that I was kind of came to mind as I was looking at this chart earlier. It just kind of hit me out of nowhere that, for the past number of years, I'm not exactly sure how long, but we've had this pattern where 4 to 5 planets end up going retrograde at the same time every summer, or around the summer, springtime, summer, and right now it's not quite summer yet, it's still springtime, but right now we've got, if you look here, we've got Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, and not Uranus, but Mercury all in retrograde, and we had Venus in retrograde not that long ago, just until like a couple weeks ago. And the thing that kind of dawned on me as I was reading this earlier is that every year there's kind of this opportunity for certain people who are, if they're willing to really use the energies that are available to them in the best way they can, it's kind of like almost like this opportunity for like the self-made millionaire, the kind of person who is kind of like that, the kind of person who's able to get rid of those habits that kind of hold them back, the type of entrepreneur, like these Tony Robbins, what's his name, Ty Lopez or whatever, even though I don't really particularly like listening to that guy, but you know what I mean, like these self-help gurus and stuff like that. These people who have all these different investments in different areas, and they're always doing this stuff, and they're always talking about being energized and being engaged in what you're doing and everything. These are the kind of people that I'm kind of talking about here. The people who are able to really structure their day. They really go out and get things done. They just seem to have no limitations. They're able to do whatever it is they set out to do and exceed their expectation for it by far. And this is the kind of energy that can be used here. This is Saturn in retrograde, so I'll just get more specific here. With Saturn being in retrograde here, this is a great time to really uproot any old patterns that you have, any negative patterns or habits that you have right now. Saturn going retrograde doesn't necessarily make them go away, but it loosens the boundaries and the barriers around getting rid of long-term, deeply ingrained habits and boundaries, and just anything that has to do with whatever it is that all the different actions that shape your reality, your bubble, And so when it's retrograde, it kind of loosens that grip, and you're much more able to remove old patterns and replace them with new ones. And then we also have Jupiter in retrograde here, which kind of brings like this really intense introspective kind of energy, where it's this really, if you were to use this kind of energy in the way that I'm talking about here, this is where you're spending a lot of time probably by yourself trying to figure things out and like structure your day and figure out how to better manage your relationships and how to better manage your schedule and your time and just all these different things, and finding out more about what you value and what has meaning to you. And so those two things combined there, along with Pluto in retrograde, who kind of takes some of the intensity off of certain things. Particularly right now, it takes away the normal tendency to be influenced by those around us, because Pluto here is conjunct Juno, the asteroid that represents the person who's kind of close to us, whose qualities we tend to take on. And being conjunct here with this retrograde Pluto, I think that has to do with the idea that there's not really somebody else around that's transforming us. This is This is the time where you're able to really choose what goes into your subconscious. You get to choose what you're going to focus on, and what other people are doing around you isn't really going to rub off on you as much for a while here. These retrogrades tend to last longer than others, but it's definitely an interesting opportunity, especially with this retrograde of Venus that just came to an end. It's likely that a lot of people are starting to have a different relationship and different view of things like money, particularly. And I think that that's something that the collective at large here, which is what this chart is really representing when we do readings like this, is talking about the global collective of people. And I think what's going on with a lot of people, probably like a good 80% of people on the planet right now, is that we kind of have this issue with our relationship to money. A lot of people really struggle with feeling like either they don't deserve it, or they think that it's evil, or they just have this really negative relationship to the idea of money. And I think that has been, for some people, maybe brought to light recently, and this Mercury retrograde is allowing people to kind of take a step back and look to the past and look to some of their more extreme views, their more radically independent kinds of ideas about what they believe, particularly, and just learning to really embody who you want to be instead of being influenced by the environment and how others are going to influence you. Something else that just kind of popped out to me. A lot of people have been reporting really intense dreams lately for the past few days, and I think here this has to do with this trine here between Neptune and Pluto, because Neptune being the planet that very often rules over dreams. I've noticed very often that whenever there's weird stuff going on with the dreams, like for a lot of people at the same time, Neptune usually has something to do with it. And having this positive aspect here to Pluto kind of makes them like really intense and probably kind of nonsensical. They probably don't make a lot of sense. I can say that's the case for me. Maybe I'm just projecting on there because my dreams have been intense and don't really make a lot of sense lately. But they're very intense and very, they seem to be pointing towards very introspective types of ideas here, like this energy of Jupiter, also in retrograde here. So when people talk about planets going into retrograde, it's much more helpful to see how you can use those energies to your advantage than it is to just go, oh no, this is happening to me, I'm such a victim, I better prepare for frustrations. There's ways to use these energies, the energies that are around you at all times, and go with the flow instead of against it. And for example, Mercury retrograde, it's the kind of thing where if you're trying to plan new projects and stuff, and maybe trying to take like some kind of trip or like trying to travel, you might come up against some issues. You might have some frustrations and delays and problems come up. But when you use the energy correctly, instead maybe use all these retrogrades to kind of step back and maybe reflect, do like really intense inner work on yourself and not really pursue anything new. Revisit the old things that you've started in the past and maybe never finished, and reorganize and revamp the way that you've been doing things. When you use the energies in that way, you tend to have a much easier time, and you'll see other people around you just kind of having all these obstacles out of nowhere, to the point where it's almost comical, just because the things that will pop out of nowhere, it's just like kind of amazing to see how almost like custom tailored it can seem when Mercury retrograde comes and gets in your way and causes all these problems. And it's when you laugh at it is when they usually go away, actually. So it's a good thing to find humor in that sort of stuff. But if you use the energies right, then you just end up having this, like, it's kind of like you have the wind at your back. You're going with the stream, and it helps you to move even further with all this kind of self-development kind of stuff than you normally would be able to, because that's just what's going on in the firmament, as you could say. So anyways, feeling a little ranty today, just kind of going off on tangents here, but hopefully you guys are enjoying these ideas. So Venus coming out of Pisces right now, Pisces being the last sign of isolation, and mainly the idea of the word that's coming to me right now is isolation. It's kind of almost like maybe this time of being very inwardly focused and kind of not really spending as much time with other people maybe, and just spending all this time on yourself. that will continue, but it's almost like you're learning to kind of come out of your shell a little more. I think people are learning to come out with their own true desires and who they really are, and feeling more comfortable with who they are, more and more. And as Venus moves into Aries, there's going to be kind of this shift where people are kind of going to have this sense of like, boom, this is here I am, look at me, I disappeared for a while, but here I am again. So and it's going to be kind of an intense, like, very confident, like, this is me, this is my identity, this is who I really am and what I really feel, and you can take it or leave it, because I'm Venus in Aries, and that's what that energy does. So definitely look forward to that. There's definitely going to be an emergence of people just kind of coming out of their shells, probably once this retrograde is over. That's going to kind of coincide with the timing here with Venus, so that's pretty perfect there. And then we got Mars being in Gemini. All this high flying energy. The only downside to it is that it's real easy to kind of fly off the handle and get very angry very quickly, especially around matters that you don't even completely understand, perhaps, and you might not even. It's the kind of thing where you're not able to catch yourself as easily when you start getting frustrated with things. There's just a lot of intellectual processing going on. There's a lot of just very highly charged energy, but then Neptune comes and kind of throws a foggy essence over the whole thing, making it hard to really know. It kind of brings almost like a clumsiness to the whole process, and whether that be physically or with your thinking. It's just things move a little too fast and without as much clarity as they need to have, thus creating very fast flashes of frustration and anger. But on the upside, that same energy is what is kind of driving people to do so much. If you find that you're doing a lot more lately than you normally do, it's because of that type of energy. But yeah, that pretty much covers it, I think, for the week. I know we didn't talk about specific days, but this is just the ongoing pattern that's going to be seen throughout the week. And it's kind of fun to watch how these things progress from week to week. So hopefully you've been following along, you've been enjoying these videos. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week.